All right, welcome everybody. Calling to order the July 2022 meeting of the Oak Hills Park Authority. Gonna start going through the agenda. The next thing is acceptance of meeting minutes. Then we'll do a little public comment session if there's anybody. We'll do a short report from me, some management reports from Paul, Jim, and Mark, then committee reports. If we have supporters, if we have tennis, and if we, I've been given a written report from the Nature Advisory Committee, which I'll highlight. And then we have no old business, new business, but if any comes up, we can discuss it. And then adjournment.
Do we need roll call, Joe?
Excuse me?
Do we need roll call or not? Do we do that?
Oh, I suppose we should do that, yes. So let me start with that. So I'll go just in the order everybody appears on my screen for the authority members. Jennifer McAllister.
Here.
Alan Dutton.
Here.
Denise Brown. She noted she's here. Carl Dickens.
See.
And TJ Tromboli is not here yet. We'll make it known if he does arrive. Thanks, Alan, for keeping me honest on the roll call. So the next item is number 2, acceptance of meeting minutes from the June meeting. I've been through them. I did not think that they were, I mean, they were kind of a transcript of what went on. I think a little more summarization could be done, but overall, I thought it hit the points of the meeting as I watched it on YouTube because I was not actually present. But I do think it captured the general spirit of it. But I'd like to open it up for authority members if you have any comments or changes that you'd like to see reflected.
Don't have my sheet with me, but I believe on page 3 where I said Yale management, I actually meant yield management, YELD. So that's one change we could make. I think it's paragraph 3, page 3, I think.
Okay, but I think the point is if we can search for Yale and change that to yield, that would be the change, right?
Yep.
Okay. Any other comments?
I do have one. I'm just trying to refine it. Let's see. It's on page 6. And it's the 4th sentence down that says, Mrs. Brown will review the regulations for keeping the course open. So it should be courts. So
The tennis courts.
tennis courts.
Perfect.
I found a number of things, but they're pretty minor, so I'll just keep it to two things. On the first page, the second paragraph under acceptance of minutes, it states that Ms. Bromark began reading her corrections, which are attached to these minutes. I don't see them attached to the minutes. So there are no corrections attached to these minutes of the last minutes. And the only other thing was under my report. So on page 7, under financial report presented by Mark Gartner, in the second paragraph, the 3rd line down, it says there were about 25 cart rounds in May. That is incorrect. There were 2,500 cart rounds in May.
Slight difference, right, Mark?
Yeah.
Big difference.
Okay. If the representative from Telesco can take those comments down and address them in a summary at the beginning of these minutes, that would be helpful. Any other comments on the minutes? If none, can we move for approval?
We don't have Rianne here, who would be dotting and crossing every letter. So
moved.
All right, Mr. Dutton moves for approval of the minutes. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, give it to Jennifer. Any, well, everybody in approval, say yay.
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 okay.
Any objections? Any abstentions? All right, the minutes are passed. Next agenda item will be public comment. Jeff, do we have anyone in the waiting room who has their hand raised, or anyone in the waiting room?
I'm not seeing any, Joe.
Okay. Then we'll close public comment and move on to a chair's report. And that would be me. It'll be very short. Very quickly, just laying out how I view Oak Hills Park, and how I think we can kind of follow a 3-point plan to kind of implement our strategic priorities, and then a little bit about committees. So several of you have probably already heard me say this, but I view Oak Hills Park as really the confluence of 5 things that have to work in concert with each other for it to be successful and it to fully operate. Those 5 things are golf, tennis, nature, food and beverage, and financials. Some of those cut across different pillars amongst golf, tennis, and nature, which are really the service pillars that we have. Food and beverage cuts across all of those. And of course, the finance function cuts across all of those. So keeping an eye on those 5 things, we capture, I'd say, 95% of what goes on at the park. And the other things are on the margins. We can handle them on an ad hoc special needs basis. In terms of kind of getting through our strategic priorities, which are expressed through our budget and which are expressed through our capital improvement plans, I think of 3 things. If we try to just make sure every visitor to the park is very happy with their experience, if we try to make sure that we have minimal surprises, we get enough of them from Mother Nature, and we get enough of them from just fate enormous falling down on us. We don't need to cause our own. And the best way to not cause our own surprises is to communicate a lot. And when things are going on, make sure that lots of people are aware of them. So that's number 2. And number 3 is solid financials. If we can deliver those 2 prior things, I think the solid financials will follow, as long as we're really paying attention to them. So with those things in mind, let's talk about committees. The ones that I feel like we don't need to tinker with: finance, led by now Treasurer Jen McAllister; tennis liaison committee, led by current chair of the tennis committee, Denise Brown; and the nature advisory committee, current chair Audrey Kazarin. Those I think are working. Jan and Denise, I think you can pull from the authority, you can pull from members of the public to populate those committees. Any authority member can be added with no approvals, but any member of the public needs to be approved by the authority. So just keep that in mind as you're thinking of who to bring in. For the other committees, I think a reinstitution of the restaurant liaison committee is in order. And I'd like to ask Alan Dutton to chair that committee. And as long as he accepts, he can also bring in members from the authority and members from the public, just following the same guidelines that I just outlined for the other committees.
Thanks, Joe. Happy to do it.
Excellent. And then finally, on the point of committees, there are 2 others that are going to be coming up in the future, at least 2 others that are coming up in the future, which are more special. They're not, they're more periodic, not ongoing. One is a bylaws review committee. Our bylaws were last edited in 2017, and it's been 5 years, and I think there are some updates that we can do. And the other is a comprehensive plan committee. So to refurbish what was formerly called the master plan, and kind of update it for what our strategic priorities are now and what we think we can really use Oak Hills Park for the kind of, complete enjoyment of the residents of Norwalk. So those will be coming down later. I think it makes sense to try to bring them in the winter when there's not as much golf operation going on, not as much tennis and nature operation either. And we can be a little bit more deliberate, and we have a little bit more free time to actually focus on those more document things that we can do when it's dark at 4:30. So I'll open it up for a brief question and answer, but I just wanted to lay out really at the outset how I view it, how I think we can operate, and get that committee structure done. Okay,
I have a question.
sure.
Is Don not going to be part of these meetings anymore? Or is he just not here tonight and last week or last
A
month?
representative from Dry Dock Smoke and Aces is invited to the meeting, and per the license agreement is, there is supposed to be someone of appropriate stature from that organization attending these meetings. So we will take efforts in the future to make sure that we have that representation. Okay, then that closes out number 4, and we can go into management reports. So we'll start with golf professional, Paul.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Well, the golf season's rolling right along. And despite a rise in inflation and an uncertainty in the economy, we're still seeing lots of golfers and full tee sheets when the weather is good. We've not had much rain. And other than last Monday, the rain has been mostly falling at night. And it hasn't really been that hot until this week. But the heat wave we're experiencing right now is not keeping golfers away. So that's really a good thing. Through our, even though our cart paths have been completed and they haven't really been exposed to too much rain or help keep our cart paths out there on the wet days, they have made the experience at Oak Hills Park much more enjoyable, having continual cart paths. And I'm sure we'll see a benefit to them this fall when we start to get a little bit of rain. But again, the amount of play has been very good, and I attribute that to great course conditions, many new golfers coming from all over Fairfield and Westchester County, the 5 boroughs of New York, and really a growing reputation for Oak Hills as a great place to play golf at a fair price. Golf Now has really helped tremendously this year, giving Oak Hills more exposure and increasing traffic to the course. Our Golf Now course rounds year to date are up 167%. The Golf Now revenue, I believe, is up about 148%. And we're seeing about an average price per round at $49. And we're also seeing a lot more golf being played between 2 and 4 o'clock in the afternoons. So our Golf Now tee sheet and the POS system that we put in this spring is working really well. And as the staff gets more comfortable with it and familiar with it, we're seeing the benefits of having Golf Now as our partner and to help maximize our tee sheet and driving golfers to our golf course. In the last month, we had 2 outings, only 2 outings really due to the July 4th holiday and 1 outing canceled. That outing has moved their date to August 22nd. So far we've had 7 outings with a total of 650 golfers, averaging about 92 players per outing. And 2 of those outings were new to Oak Hills Park, and all outings have made plans to come back in 2023. We're also having a really good outing that we did not have last year, but they've been here in the past and they're coming back, I believe, this fall. 10 days ago, we had a nice outing. It was our neighbor, the Ponus Ridge Middle School. And we were lucky enough to have our mayor, Harry Ryling, show up with Senator Bob Duff. So that was kind of nice. Last Thursday, we hosted 73 women in an annual Southern Connecticut Women's Golf Association event that we hold every year at Oak Hills. These women are really good golfers. They loved our golf course. Our greens were in perfect condition, and the low score was 74. Our weekly golf clinics for juniors, women, and the new golfers are as popular as ever. At the moment, we're giving 10 clinics a week, pretty much anywhere from 8 to 14 people, composed mostly of new golfers. Half of our junior golf schools have been completed, and we're experiencing a high demand for them this year. As our program grows, word gets out, we're seeing a lot more demand. Our PGA Junior League team, who rarely loses a match these days, is one of the best teams we've ever had at Oak Hills. They've completed 3/4 of their season and has a real good chance to go to the playoffs. The Oak Hills Men's Golf Association has played recently 2 Nine and Dine golf events that take place once a month on the 3rd Thursday of the month at 5 p.m. They tie that in with Smoking Aces. They play 9 holes. I was trying to get new people also to the Oak Hills Men's Association, and everybody's going in for kind of hors d'oeuvres and cocktails. We have about 200 members. We were down the last 2 years, but before that, it was probably well over 200. And even in the years ago, it was up to 500. So times have changed a little bit. People's lives are getting busier. We're also helping Oak Hill Men's Golf Association plan a night golf event with glow-in-the-dark golf balls and glow sticks. And we're going to go out there at night one evening. We'll have 6 sums. They play golf over 7 golf holes. The Oak Hills Women's Golf Station is strong and popular, and we're seeing Wednesdays with anywhere from 65 to 76 members playing golf. And that's composed of 18 holes, ladies, and 9-holers as well. Callaway Golf held a demo day with us last two weeks ago. They brought all their woods and irons, showcased a lot of their product for our golf membership. They were here in the second week of July, and they're coming back next Wednesday with putters and wedges for people to try. It's difficult not having a range at Oak Hills to do this, but we're managing. We're also having TaylorMade come to Oak Hills to hold a demo day maybe next 2 weeks. We hired 2 staff members recently as we get ready for the transition into September or late August, when we lose a lot of our college staff and some of our high school staff. New to Oak Hills Park is Claire McKinnon, who lives in Norwalk, attends Norwalk Community College, and is an active member of the National Guard. She's working in our golf shop and on our golf cart staff, and she's doing a tremendous job. We also have Ray Codell, who is a longtime teacher at Norwalk High School. He was the golf coach for years there. He's very well known in the city of Norwalk, and he's also going to be working for us as a ranger and may help us with golf cart operations. We have 68 carts. They look as new as ever. Al Rossetti is one of the best cart fleet managers you could possibly imagine. He's really on it. We've had a few issues with accelerator pedals that are contaminated with some sort of grease, but even our club car technician's been at Oak Hills maybe 10 times since we last spoke here. And they're fixing every cart as we need them, also as their products come in, because sometimes we have to wait for the parts. Other than that, lastly, I had the thrilling opportunity to spend time with the legendary Vinnie Grillo Sr. on 3 different occasions recently. He was the original golf professional who started Oak Hills in 1967. I drove him around his golf course, and he was so happy to see the improvements that we made. He said it was one of his most favorite days of the year. And he's moving to Lake Worth, Florida. He'll be 90 next month, so he really wanted to see it possibly one last time. Doesn't know if he's coming back here again. But he's really truly a special man and highly respected in the golf industry and by all his longtime friends at Oak Hills Park. He shared many fabulous stories with me and offered me lots of sound advice. And I think I'm going to write a little story on him with some photographs we took. But other than that, going forward, I anticipate a really strong next 30 days of golf at Oak Hills and a great second half of the season. That's it.
So Paul, thank you. Good report. I had a quick question. So I'm glad you told me about the cancelling. And so those people that cancelled the outing did rebook then, right, for August 22nd?
One of our longtime FCAC canceled. One of their major contributors got sick. They were a little bit worried about weather, but they did reschedule. And then we had another one cancel that just couldn't fill the field. So at the last minute, we tried to get some golfers to the club. And they just having a tough time. Some outings are a lot better than others, as you may know. It kind of takes a couple of years to really get the ball rolling for some outings.
Do we have any type of, what's the penalty? Is there any penalties if you the day before or?
Yeah, well, we increased our deposit to $600. They're going to lose that. If they rebook, they could use it again. I think maybe in the future, we might have to raise the deposit fee a little more. But the truth is, if someone holds 80 member golfers at Oak Hills for an outing, which is the minimum, we basically take in $5,440. And there's some Mondays, that If we don't get that amount, we're actually losing money. And then Tuesdays are incredibly popular. I was looking at some rounds and, I think a lot of people know that the course usually isn't open on a Monday, so they kind of make other plans. But
Okay.
I think we have some really good outings and then other ones that are just not so good.
No, it's okay. We need to do the ones that are also, Norwalk related, like, Brian McMahon and stuff like that. I think that's fine, I agree.
Yeah, our local and our neighbors.
Yep. Okay.
Any other questions, anybody?
That's a pretty good report to me.
Thank you.
Can't hear you, Joe.
You're on mute.
Joe, unmute.
I was saying wonderful things about the report. Thank you so much, Paul. I really was. Jim, you're on.
All right, so everything on the course is okay for now. It was getting dicey with the lack of rain, but we got 2 3/4 inches on Monday. And that went a long way with the grass and with filling the irrigation pond up. It's interesting that we had such a long stretch without any rain. And it's kind of a reminder to me even that the irrigation system is meant to fill in the gaps between rain events. And it's not the same as mother's milk. Nothing can replace regular rainfall. And thank God everything, has mostly greened up. Obviously, we still have some spots, but, hopefully the next one will get them. We didn't get that today. So I would like to discuss the issue of our water supply, but I don't want to do it here. I want to hopefully have a meeting with maybe the executive committee and just to talk about some of the options that I think we should explore. We can do a Zoom, we can do in person, whatever, but I really I'd like to make some changes that would not only help us with the water company, but with other issues as well. And I'd like to just to put it out there, I want to talk about it with you guys offline. We've had a couple car accidents occurring at our entrances. We have one at tennis. We have one at the golf entrance. And the stone walls have been damaged. So I've got 3 quotes to repair each. I've got the police reports. Mark, the insurance companies are listed on the police reports. Can I ask you to help me follow up with that? And
Yeah, of course.
I think I've got everything that is needed, and it really shouldn't take much more than a phone call to insurance companies. But with the way the weather's been going, I've been so swamped. I hardly have time.
Let me know when you have time and we can meet up and make that call.
Okay, thank you.
You got it.
Next up is our Fairway Mower order. Obviously we're delay, and he says we'll have them by 23. But he came to me and he told me that they are charging everyone who hasn't received their orders yet, that they are now charging everybody a 6% surcharge. So, I mean, I question it, but I understand it. But at the same time, it's kind of the option is to not get them and go after other equipment. But then we go to the back of the line, and from everything I'm hearing, we're 16 months out from getting any equipment. And the problem with that is, I mean, today, one of our old mowers, it broke down in front of 8 green. The pin was in the front. It was literally right in the approach. And several groups had to play over the new hazard. So, I mean, I regret to bring this to you, but I think I need a new vote because the price went up. We don't want to lose our place in the queue. If we do, somebody else will be more than happy to take our machines. The cost difference is $6,688.23. That which brings it to $118,158.73. And I think I'm probably gonna need a vote on that.
How have prices for this sort of equipment migrated since we locked in the price that we had
Well,
6 months ago?
as far as the equipment, he assures me, the salesman assures me, it's not an increase in the equipment price because we opted in. It's just a surcharge for the, how do I say it? Supply chain problems? I don't know. I can show you the agreement, but I don't think my camera will allow it.
No. We don't need to do that.
If you're locked in at the price, sorry, Joe, if you're locked in at the price and they're charging you a 6% surcharge because of the supply chain issues, are we talking fuel, the freight carriers? Like, did they give you any specifics?
No. Just with everything that's going on is all he said. Really. I mean, that's what I took away from it. And I mean, I get it, but at the same time, you know, we did kind of sign an agreement, didn't we? Mark, I'm pretty sure.
Yes, we did.
You signed a PO, Mark? Was it like a purchase order that was signed, or it was just?
We signed it was a contract agreement that we do for all of Jim's big purchases. I think we did it back in September of last year.
August.
Is it
But
worth?
the problem is, if we don't go ahead with it, then we go right to the back of the line, and our equipment is starting to fail on a more regular basis. And that's what kills me, because they know they have us by the you-know-whats. So
I'd also be concerned that prices of everything have gone up, even in the past 3 months.
yeah,
So if
and that's what kind of makes me understand the surcharge. 'Cause
totally. I mean,
So Jim, was this just a verbal thing from you? Would it be good just to get something in writing to that effect?
I have it. I
Oh,
have
you
it.
have writing, okay.
How many mowers, Jim? Sorry.
2 mowers.
so and how quickly do we have to come to some conclusion on whether we're going to pay it or cut bait and move on?
Well, he texted me yesterday. He didn't give me a deadline, but he texted me yesterday. He told me about it a few days ago, and he texted me yesterday. I mean, it sounds urgent, but if it was another week, you know, that would probably be okay.
So I wonder if it would be if we could press pause on that for a sec, on that decision for a minute. I think we understand the dollars and we understand the reason for the dollars. But I wonder if we can press pause on a decision for now, just a couple of days. I would like to look at the contract and see if that's actually something that they're able to do. And I would really like for our counsel, Randy, to have a look at that contract and see if he thinks it's something that they are actually able to do. It seems like something that they would propose, but if it's not stipulated in the contract that it's a viable move, then I think they're stuck with the contract that they signed, just like we would be if it says that they can.
Right. All right. The thing I'm scared of is that we find that, no, they have no right to do that. But then we go back to the back of the line, and that doesn't change the fact that our current fairway mowers are crap. That's, I mean, look, I'm not asking for a vote tonight, but I'm just expressing my fears of what I think might happen. You know, if we back out of this deal, we're out of luck.
But I don't think anyone's going to put you to the back of the line if you have to get approved.
Oh, they will. There is no question. Right now, they're putting us to the back of the line if we don't follow through on this contract.
What's
Hey, Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Ooh.
Sure. Carl, go ahead.
I'm just trying to understand on this contract. We have something in there, in the contract we signed with them that said that if prices go up or their costs go up or whatever, that they can pass along the surcharge to us to pay for that? Is that what it says, or am I mishearing that?
I don't think the current contract that is signed says that. But because of everything that's going on, they have decided that they need to add a surcharge to everyone's order that ordered way back, I don't know when. And I have no idea if it says that in the agreement. It's actually a commercial sales agreement. If you want to call that a contract, I guess that's a contract.
So Jim, why don't you give a buzz to some of your buddies and just ask them, are they experiencing the same as you? Just because it'd be good to get some industry standards as to, and, because if there's a couple of you guys, I'm sure you guys talk, say, hey, listen, talk, this is what's happened. Is the same thing happened to you? 10 of them say no, different situation. I understand, but it'd be good to just have some anecdotal knowledge about this, I think,
Here, changes proposed to buyer or by buyer with respect to this agreement shall be made by submittal by buyer to seller of a written request at least 15 days prior to the shipment of goods pursuant to this agreement. So we know how far the shipment is away.
Yeah. So if we have a day or two or three,
Yeah,
business day or two or three, I think Alan's suggestion is a good suggestion. If you can ask around and see if this is par for the course.
sure.
And then if you can just send the agreement around, everybody can scan it,
Yep.
Randy included, to see if this is something that's actually allowed in the contract. If it is, okay,
Mark, do you have a copy of the first agreement, sales agreement?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so just organize that and send it out to us. And then we should be able to come to some conclusion by, say, Tuesday.
Sure.
And if you want to give him that guidance, your rep that you're communicating with, I think that's fair.
I'd be looking for something that says prices subject to change regarding, and that's can be standard in a lot of things, particularly if you're ordering a car right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you're already past your time, Mr. Chairman, on what you allotted for this particular segment.
Thank you. Jim, do you have anything else?
I have one more thing, if I'm allowed.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, in the commercial debt section of our planning, this year we had 2 greens mowers to be purchased and 1 utility cart. I'd like to change out the utility cart for a weather station. Our mechanic found a guy who gave us 3 sets of lithium batteries for 3 electric carts that were pretty much dead. So now, bonus, we've got 3 carts instead of 1 for another 5 or 6 years. So I'd like to change out that for a weather station. Instead of spending $10,000, we'll be spending about $4,600 plus installation costs. And
Jim, this is the alert system for lightning and stuff.
no, this is a weather station. It detects temperature, sunlight, radiation, wind speed, humidity,
Okay.
multiple things to help me make my decisions here. The
Right.
one that we have now is operating with, it's not operating actually for on and off for 2 years because the modems keep failing. It communicates with my computer by a wire line. The new one is a wireless and it's not really subject to communication issues.
Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion that what he's asking for be approved.
Any second?
1 second. This is in replacement of the 10,000. So you're switching out, you're giving up 10's coming back and you're getting 5,400.
Maybe 5,400.
I'm sorry, 4,600.
Well, plus installation costs. Yep.
As long as it comes in under the 10.
Oh,
Right, so-
definitely.
You
No
know,
doubt.
in discussion of this item, it seems like 21 days into the fiscal year, with this one item changing, our capital budget would come in about $5,000 lower than budgeted.
Well, let's see what the greens mowers cost, because that was,
And that would,
surcharge.
I mean, it's purple money versus orange money, but so our capital expense would go lower, but then we'd have a higher financing option where we'd have to pay that. And so we're coming out in some measures even, but not really.
Hopefully better.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So any other questions on this topic?
So we had a first and a second motion.
I think you were the first and Jennifer was
Jennifer
the
second, yes.
And then we discuss. So is there any other discussion on the topic?
I had a question. Jim, the company that you're talking about that wants to increase that price, have you dealt with that company before?
Yep.
So they know you, they know Oak Hills, and you've
Oh, yeah.
I'm
purchased.
sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Right
yes.
now, we're discussing the
Yeah.
motion that Mr. Dickens made about the capital expense change.
Correct, that's
Let's not mix these topics, please.
yes.
So
The issue is letting
discussion-
Jim do what he wants to do on that weather station.
Yeah, the discussion about the weather station, replacing the unit that exists with a new one. Any other questions on that? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Okay, the motion passes. Jim?
All right, thank you. And that's my report, unless anybody's got questions or.
Denise,
comment.
did you want to follow up with further questions on the other topic?
Well, he said he's dealt with them. I just didn't know if they were a new company or somebody he has experience with.
No, they've been around for a long time. They're the only Toro Golf supplier in the Northeast. And, I mean,
I do think that Alan's suggestion you make a couple of calls and see if the same things happen elsewhere is a very good.
sure. Will do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Mark, you're up.
All right, just a couple of general comments. The budget, as everyone knows, was finalized and approved in last month's meeting, and then I sent it along to the city, so it's set in stone. And just for everyone's knowledge, that fiscal year has just began on July 1, so we're 3 weeks into the new fiscal year. Our year-end close and annual audit are in progress right now. Most of the audit will be conducted electronically with just one day of field work scheduled for August 8th. And field work simply means the auditors will come to visit me directly at my office for some testing on hand. And then lastly, we've continued with our debt payments to the city of Norwalk as always. So I'm going to go over a couple of things for the prelim annual financial activity. And, it's obviously, I'm going through the year end now, and it takes a bit longer than a regular month end. There's some audit entries that I have to do. There's some annual entries that I only do annually at the end of the year. And not all those are done. I've done all the normal work and things look good. But the numbers that I'm going to touch on for the most part will be changing, even if it's only slightly. So I'll start with numbers that won't change. It's our rounds for the year. Those are set in stone. We finished the year, the full fiscal year. Now, everything we're talking about is for a full 12 months. We did 38,000 revenue rounds for the year versus 35.3 thousand budgeted. So we're about 7.6% over budget. And for what it's worth, our actual non-revenue rounds, which is the season passes, the barter rounds and comp rounds, they were almost exactly as budgeted. They were about 6,700. They were off by like 20 rounds. Pretty fantastic.
Good job.
Yeah, I did that. Yes. Preliminarily, we beat budget on greens fees and outings, but we did come in short on cart rental, season pass, and discount on D-card revenues. So in total, we look to have beaten budgeted golf revenue by about $140,000 or 8%. However, we had no golf simulator revenue and we lost our tenant at the end of August. So and that comes in non-golf or other revenue. So just wanted to throw that out there as well. So at the end of the day, we're still pretty good on revenues. On the expense side, we came in under budget on most areas, with the exception of repairs and maintenance work done in the clubhouse restaurant and kitchen. I've discussed that previously, and the executive committee was kept informed along the way as we dealt with Don, who was the GM at the time, and all the work that was needed, because there was quite a bit. I also do want to note that wages came in not much, but a little under budget across the board in all areas. So great job, Jim, Paul, and me. However, keep in mind that the budget for wages was increased pretty heavily for this year. So the costs have still risen. I want to make sure that's clear. Costs have still gone up, but we did come in under budget while also beating revenue, which is great. There are still several year-end adjusting entries that are required for the audit. So the numbers that we're looking at, like I said, they will change, not too dramatically. So my preliminary assessment for the fiscal year is we had a successful year. We beat budget in revenues and expenses, as well as ending cash balance. So very well done across the board. Let's do it again next year.
So Mark, what does that mean? Where are we going to end up? Obviously, we have revenue of expenses, we have debt service. Did we put more money into the bank than we thought we would put in this fiscal year?
Yes.
Or how did it work?
Yes, considering that we have paid, we went over budget in our CapEx by, I don't know, to get offhand, $10,000, $12,000. We began accelerating our payments to the city a bit, or I shouldn't say accelerating, I should say including some of what we consider non-revenue as now revenue rounds, as it's been more clearly defined. So considering that we've paid out more cash, and we still beat our ending cash balance by, don't hold me to it, somewhere around $60,000, maybe $65,000. And just I'm just going to throw this out there. We ended the year at about $382,000. The end of the year was 3 weeks ago. Today's bank balance was $482,000. It's a $100,000 increase in 3 weeks. Now, I know we're in July, and that's when we're in our high season now. We're not going to be mid-June through end of July. But even so, 100,000 in 3 weeks. I mean, maybe we did that 2 years ago during COVID, but never have we done that well. So July looks like, even though the heat, and we're doing pretty well through July. So it's a good start to next year.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Please go ahead.
Mr. Gardner,
Yes.
you mentioned that the salary was less than was budgeted for.
Yes.
Did I hear that right? Is that due to
Correct.
lack?
Yes.
Is that due to lack of bodies, less bodies than we had before?
Not lack of bodies, although maybe for parts of the year in under Jim's department.
Definitely for me.
With Paul, it's not lack of bodies. It's just he's done a pretty good job of managing when it does rain. The cart guys can go home a little early and so forth. I would say that, and then also having at the end of the year we had scheduled a GM throughout the full year, and we had about 1 month with that one. So altogether, like I said, it's not significant, but in each department they all came in a bit under budget.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions about the financials for the, yes, Denise, you're on mute.
Hi, is any of the revenue sourced from the restaurant?
Yes, and I haven't booked it yet because I haven't gotten the rent yet for the fourth quarter. I've gotten the first 3 quarters, and I've estimated the fourth quarter. We're going to probably, we had budgeted about $30,000 for the year for restaurant revenue, and we're going to come in right around there. I'm going to say 1,000 or 2 short.
For the previous year?
I'm sorry.
This is for fiscal year ending 2022, this past just 3 weeks ago.
30th, ending June 30th, correct?
Yes. So the last quarter, which would be April, May, and June, that rent is due this month in July, and that's what I'm working with Don to try to get his figures. So I don't have them yet, but an estimate is right around 10 to 12,000.
So, Mr. Chair, is there a possibility that things would be clear for us to realize what we do get from the restaurant if they didn't have a separate POS system?
I do not know the answer to that question.
So, Carl, I don't think Golf Now has a food and Paul pointed this. I don't know if Golf Now has a food and beverage POS system, because that's a pretty specialized thing. To be honest with you, I don't know if if Golf Now has their property management system has a food and beverage component to it.
Well, I can understand that, but I also see that we have a huge problem in that we don't really know how to rectify what is and is not put into the system or put in a drawer, reported to us or whatever. And the other question is, every quarter the rent seems to be late. I believe in the contract is a penalty for late payment. Have we ever exercised that penalty?
We have not.
Is there any reason why we have not?
Well, I'm currently checking with the executive committee on what we're doing for this quarter.
Okay, I would like that to be shared with the full board.
Of course it will.
And if I could just address the two things that were just mentioned. My memory is that Golf Now, they can do some food and beverage, but when Don looked at it, he did not like it at all and said it's not for a full restaurant. And my memory is that when the previous Montalto, when he was operating, he was on Easy Links, but it was a completely different instance. So even though they were on the same POS system, like I had no visibility to it. I could not log in.
Correct.
Yeah. I mean, and Carl's a good point, because at some stage we're really going to have to look at the revenue, because if he's saying he's doing $30,000 within a year, right, and that includes the halfway house, that means he's doing $300,000 worth in total revenue in a year. So we just need to carve out what the halfway house revenue is, and if that's whatever that is, if it's $100,000, that means he's doing $200,000 in revenue in the Smoking Aces. Now, the question is how much of that is in banker revenue, is private parties, and how much is in a la carte, because the a la carte, the banker revenue is where he can, make money. He really can. So I think part of the restaurant committee, one of the things that we'll be looking at is, and working with Mark as well, how we can, look at this revenue and to see how appropriate it is. But I believe, Mark, do we have access to look at his books at some stage in the agreement? I'm not sure off the top of my head if that's true or not.
I think that
There is sorry.
I think it's in the agreement that we can audit their books.
Yes.
You're
There is
right.
an
It
explicit-
is in the agreement.
There is an explicit paragraph stating that we have the option to request an audit of their books once a year.
Okay.
When
Just so when I
would
get-
we do that, Mark? What part of the year would we do that?
Well, we can do whatever we want. We can do. I think his annual year is on a calendar basis. So he would close his books in December, meaning we would want to get an audit done in January, February. We can request one done on our fiscal year to tie in with us. It's up to what we request.
I think we should plan on doing that and giving him official notification that you plan on doing that, so that we can level set what our revenue actually is. Because I mean, I don't know a fact, but just something in my head and my gut says these numbers are not right.
Well, a couple of things about these numbers. Although Mark said all these numbers are pertinent to a 12-month period, the restaurant had a soft open in mid-March and really didn't get going with a season volume until sometime in April. So that 30,000 is really over, call it a 3.5 month period.
And that's fine. We can take that into consideration. I'm just
Sure.
saying right now we're flying on instrument control when we're not cleared to do that.
Sure. So I just wanted to give that.
No, that's fine. That's a good explanation. But I just don't think that for our own purposes, I mean, because, that is a revenue stream for us. You guys, the rest of you guys got a handle on everything. I don't think we have a handle on this.
Joe, just one thing about that. While yes, I was going to mention the same thing. The restaurant just opened on March 17th, but the previous 3 quarters, or 2 and almost 3 quarters, we did make up about $17,000, which means that money came directly from halfway house and events only.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And the last question, when you talk about events, that's where my real concern is. Because I don't think we have a handle on the portion that we get from the events. And I'm not, and I'm also just from, it's nothing that's binding, but from just what I hear, there's events that take place there that he waives a lot of fees for, which if he waives fees, whatever it is, 10% of that is our money, correct?
Sure.
Yes, it's on the gross.
Sure. And I just want to make it clear that, what I do each quarter, I don't do a full audit. So yes, Carl, you're absolutely right. An audit is good to come in because I'm not going through their books with a fine tooth comb. I asked for, one contract that he had for an event and to tie that into the schedule that he gave me, and it did. So I'll do that. That's like a mini audit. And he also prints stuff directly out of his POS system to support both the restaurant and the halfway house. So
But the
I
problem
take
there
those.
is that it's his POS system and we don't know what, if everything that is sold there, which I doubt much, goes into that system. So, it's like checks in the mail, Mark, and I'll love you in the morning.
No, and that's why an audit is important. But at least when it comes to a POS system, if you print out, show me all SKUs from this date to that date, there's no real way, unless you're simply not entering it in, which is then are they operating on a cash basis? That's a different story altogether. And I don't know that the auditors will pick up on that anyway.
The
I
key
don't-
guy, so the key guys is the private parties, because I don't know if that even goes through the POS system, to be honest with you.
I don't think it
You're not
does.
talking individual
That's not-
drinks. You're talking about setting
Correct.
up a party for 50 people at $80 a head plus, and that's a separate bill. So there are ways of getting around it by requesting from him. I'd like a listing on a weekly basis of all your private parties and et cetera, et cetera. So it's
And
just, you can look at it.
there's a room rental fee that I'm pretty sure gets waived on several occasions.
Yeah, I do that all the time. I'd much rather get it in food and room rental's nice, but that's almost his business, the car. We don't have to.
Well, but it takes place in our building, and it's part of the revenue we garner of 10% of everything that he makes as a restaurant is part of our money.
Correct. Very correct.
That's my concern.
Yep, I agree.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah. Thank you. Any other questions?
Just a note, while we're on the topic of the restaurant, I know I spoke with Carl earlier this week about that I would make these comments, but we are preparing a schedule like an amendment schedule, like an exhibit to the agreement to present to DDSA, Dry Dock Smoking Aces, regarding our expectations about scheduling when they're open, what services they provide to golfers, etc. And we will deliver that by the end of the month, and there'll probably be some discussion, and hopefully we'll come to an agreement on exactly what is expected from the food and beverage concession at Oak Hills,
Excellent. And that'll be shared with the entire board.
of course, for comment. Mark, did you have any June specific comments, or were you keeping?
No, June is a mixed bag, because a lot of these annual entries that I'm talking about, like I do accruals only once a year for a certain amount of things. So the June numbers themselves can get a little screwy and look weird because it's really an annual adjustment to bring everything into place. So I didn't even bother. I never do that with June.
Okay.
Can I ask a
But-
question? I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Going back to Jim's mowers. Was that was budgeted in the last budget that were just completed, correct?
Correct.
We did not pay for them yet, correct?
We have not paid a penny.
So then we should be seeing the offset on this year or last year, because it ended, right?
Wait, No, hold on. Jim, I think we had it in the 2022 budget, but because it got pushed, we came in under budget on that, and we moved it to this current fiscal year that we're in right now, that we just started.
You're right.
So we pulled it out. Well, we never spent the money. So
We never spent the money.
So what,
That's going to be that should be a win for us then when it comes to expenses, correct? Projected expenses or CapEx?
well, win for the books, but
Paper.
there's no equipment
Paper,
for me
right.
this year, is that?
Just to level set, this is a financing agreement, right?
Yeah,
This is not a capital expense. This is on the interest expense side, right?
Yeah.
Thanks, Jeff.
Oh, hold on. The way with the commercial debt stuff, almost everything has an option to buy at the end, so it's treated as a capital lease. So we put all these items. So these two Fairway mowers will come in as a liability for a lease, but it'll also come in as an asset, as a fixed asset.
But not a capital
yeah.
expense.
A fixed asset is a capital expense, but yes, the CapEx budget that we discussed and that you know about, it is not part of that. This commercial debt is a separate entity completely.
Mhm.
Yes.
Cool.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions for Mark? All right, thank you very much, Mark.
Thanks.
We have some committee reports next up on the agenda. I don't see Jerry here for Supporters of Oak Hills, so we'll move right on to Denise with tennis.
Wait a minute. Hello, everybody. Basically, the information that, the patio has been completed. I don't have, visually it's been completed, and I went and I looked at it today, but I don't, I haven't spoken to Tom Costello yet and gotten a conversation with him to see if everything that we think is supposed to have been done was done, but it looks like it has been completed. It looks very good. I don't know if you had time to look at it, Jim. Probably.
not close up. I have not had a chance to go over and inspect it close up, and I got your message.
Yeah.
The dry well, it will be complete before the next rain. I can pretty much guarantee it.
Yeah. Well, they sunk the dry well, I think, where you wanted it. Now
My
it
guys did.
needs to be cut and connected, right?
Yeah.
So they seeded everything and they put hay down. I don't know whose responsibility that's going to be to water that. I mean, it's a large area. Was that anything that you talked with Tom about, Jim?
Did not.
Okay, I did not either. So today when I did see the patio, which looked great, but the grass area or the dirt area with the hay on it is extremely dry. So I don't know
Denise, if I can make a request, this seems like an operational conversation between you and Jim.
Well, no, I don't know if it's partially all with Jim, or maybe it should be with the morning crew that comes in to roll the courts and to do some of the maintenance. I'm not sure. I know that wasn't part of their lease, but they are there in the morning. So I think maybe that's something we can look at in the lease, and then I can talk to Jim about. So, or maybe they can share the responsibility, I guess is what I'm thinking.
Okay.
We'll figure it out.
But I am happy with the look of the patio. I think some of the stones when I was walking on them may be not as flat as I would like. So Jim, maybe you and I can take a walk there sometime. I don't know when, it's really going to be when you have time more than me. So you can let me know, but it is completed. So that's one good thing. And it's
Mid to late morning is usually best.
I'm sorry?
Mid to late morning is usually best.
Late morning?
Mid to late morning, yeah. Let me know.
Okay. Okay, I'll shoot you a text. So so that's one project that's done. And I would like to work on the youth program that I did last fall and bring it again back to this fall. I have a pro that I was going to speak with who might be available to teach the kids. It'll probably be a Saturday program. And what I did last year was the money that we took in went into the supporters account versus into revenue to Oak Hills. So the supporters account, of course, is money that we take in for new projects. So I don't know because we don't bring in a lot of money. If we bring in anywhere from $1,000 on to maybe $2,000, we're not talking about huge amounts of money. It's just something to kind of put us there and have the courts be busy and try to offer something to the public, and slowly kind of build up the program where we're something for the fall, because once the fall starts, not much goes on there because the Kings Highway is out of there. So we have the open court time. So if that's okay with everybody, I will move forward with trying to put the youth program together.
Are we looking to include grassroots tennis involved in this youth program?
Well, they have a large program that they do. I
So
mean,
if we tied in with them, it just get bigger.
well, if we tie in with them, then we go with their structure, which is really, I mean, the kids don't pay anything. Their program is, every child that's involved in that program is learning the game of tennis for free.
Correct. And we're not making a lot of money, as you just stated anyway. But I think that it's a good step forward for this group and for Oak Hills to reach out to that sector of the city to get them involved in tennis and even get to know Oak Hills. Who knows? Maybe they'll find out.
Well, no, I mean, I speak with David Kamani, who's one of the project managers for them. I mean, so David's the one who's actually giving me, how to try to set everything up. So what he does do is the kids that actually don't make his program, that are a little bit, their income is a little bit better than, what they would need or not have to be able to be in their program. He kind of gives them over to our program.
I apologize, Mr. Chairman. I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I just trying to see if we can broaden our community outreach. That's all.
No, I think it's great.
Yeah, well, I mean, I am working with David, so we will work on trying to broaden the program and make it better. But, it's really not a program right now. It's just kind of.
Paul, I'm sorry, because also in conjunction with that, Paul, did you ever hook up with the city council lady that was interested in you having a conversation with her?
I think I called her once earlier in the year, but I didn't get through to her.
Having a conversation with me?
No, ma'am. Paul, I put in touch with a city council person who was interested in talking with Paul to see how we could also include some inner city kids to work with us on the golf course and learn the game of golf and introduce the game of golf.
Sure, I'll give her a ring again.
So Paul, one thing that we could consider is having, if we get new kids in to play tennis, maybe give them the option to also have some golf lessons,
Great
kind
idea.
of tie it together.
Great idea.
And you and I could talk about that because,
I used to do,
sure
I used to
really
do
how to do it, but I think it might be a good idea.
I used to do a program where the kids would play tennis, have lunch, and then come to golf.
Yeah, it's a good, and there was something we did with Darien that was similar to that, but I don't have all the paperwork and all that anymore. But the more we do of that, I think the better.
I think that's a great idea, and I'd also like to maybe tie in job skills, depending upon how old they are, to show them what it's like
Sure.
to work at a place.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we could get it going, we could tie in a lot of different things. So.
And I know that many of the courses around here are doing a lot, and then I'll be quiet because I know we're almost at time. Where they're really involved with, I mean, women's golf is exploding. The LPGA does their thing with Drive On. And a lot of the courses in our area have as high as 120 to 150 young female golfers involved in programs at their course. And I don't know that we have that at our course. I would be very interested in seeing how we can expose that into that particular area.
Yep, we could do that.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the time.
Okay. Thank you. I'm finished unless anybody has any questions.
Seems pretty busy.
Want to show those pictures, Denise?
Oh, yeah. You have them?
Yeah, you sent them.
Yeah, I have just a couple of before and after shots because I realize nobody's really been to the tennis center and they really don't know what it looks like. So
So these are the old ones.
this is our water problem,
Mhm.
the pathway to the courts. And this is our another water problem.
There's the tennis ball I lost.
And this is the new patio.
Very nice.
Beautiful, Denise. Congratulations.
Very nice.
Denise, I have to tell you, these guys worked really hard because I drive past, Oak Hills tennis like 3 or 4 or 5 times a day. And they were there like at 7, 8 o'clock at night working on this thing, you know, they were,
Some days they were there extremely late. Yeah, I mean, this is all labor. This is like tough work. And so they really worked hard and they were very nice. They were very cordial and they really didn't make any noise. I mean, I was worried about the saw and the cutting of the stone. There were no complaints as far as I was told that there were no complaints. So, which is really great to know that they really did not, I mean, it was an interruption because it's a construction site, but it was not really an interruption, I think, to the people in the area.
yeah.
Well, I can assure you, they must have been halfway quiet because there are people in that area that would have complained.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So I didn't hear any complaints, so that's good to know, because they were there about 2.5 weeks.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a motion for adjournment since we're at the time limit at which you want to run the meetings, which I agree with?
I think if Denise, do you have any other comments to deliver?
No, I'm all set.
Mr. Dickens, I think let's just pause on that for one moment.
Okay.
Because we do have a short update that I can summarize from the Nature Advisory Committee, which was sent by Audrey, its chair.
Okay.
Just a couple of things, just to be brief, in the interest of being brief. They're expressing their thanks for us passing a budget, which includes a couple of line items for their basically maintenance of the nature part of the park. On the topic of the meadow, they've seen a lot of encroachment from mugwort, and so they are thinking about other ways that space may be used, because the mugwort is basically ruining the idea of it being the meadow. But I think there's a little bit more discussion to have there. They are working on the fountain garden, which is a really lovely space that I got to see last week. There's a new solar powered fountain pump that's going to be put in, so it's actually a fountain and not just a garden with some rocks. They're let me see. They have a couple of points on the trail where there are very steep stretches. And this is deep into the woods, not so deep into the woods, but into the woods, where it's very steep and a little treacherous. And they're looking for some, I can't remember the exact term that was used, but I'll try to find it. Some assistance to a handrail, park posts, something that would help, or park stairs, like a railroad tie-in gravel sort of thing. So that's gonna be discussed by them. Any changes on the grounds, of course, are going to be approved by us, especially because it's kind of part of that budget. So there are some things going on with nature. I apologize to the committee for being so brief about it, but I wanted to get that out.
Can you explain? I didn't understand what you're saying about this mudwort or whatever you said about the meadow.
Mugwort.
Mugwort. Oh,
It's a
okay.
weed that's basically taking
weed,
over.
yes.
Yeah.
It's an
Yeah.
invasive. It's an invasive, and it takes over. It's all over in there.
Yeah, once it starts.
Yeah.
My only question is, and we've talked about this for almost 2 years now. If naming the meadow after our very generous person that donated to us is not in the works anymore, then we really need to look at putting a bench out or something and showing that, we are halfway people of our word, because we've done nothing for a $30,000 donation. So, and even more because it was more before that, with the drainage down around 5 and 6. But I would really like to see us accomplish that before too much longer.
Nope, I totally agree. It's on my mind, and I believe the authority has already approved it, so it's not something that we need to go back and rehash. I would want to see what the plan is for the Great Meadow, because if it's going to be looking over something that's not exactly what we thought it would be, that's something we would want to.
Yeah, well, if this weed would destroy the beautification of the flowers and that sort of thing, yeah, it'd be kind of a slap in the face to name that after his wife.
Can I just say one thing?
Sure, Jim.
As far as the nature trail is concerned, I think if you start improving it, then it becomes a liability automatically, does it not?
Becomes less of a liability if we take care of something that potentially could prevent a fall.
It's
I mean,
question.
Randy's not on here now. That's a question, Joe, you can ask
Yeah.
Randy, but
Good question. I think we should,
Yeah.
explore whether it is something that creates a liability. I think generally with trails like that, there's no expectation of accessibility and those sorts of things, but we can
Right.
look on that.
Okay.
but this is 2022.
There is a section behind the dumpsters there that is definitely dangerous.
Yeah, Paul, absolutely.
I didn't hear you say that.
Mhm.
No, you don't have to repeat it. I'm saying I didn't hear you say that.
Okay.
Okay, so with that report, I think we can entertain if Mr. Dickens would like to make the motion again.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second.
All right, any opposed? Let's adjourn. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Everyone,
Be well.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys.